It wouldn't be NASCAR silly season if we weren't talking about some reckless speculation with the NASCAR schedule. On Door Bumper Clear, Freddie Kraft talked about how there were 3 tracks who'd be out of the playoffs and, of course, 3 added in. Atlanta has been confirmed to be taken out. They will have the last weekend in June next year, and the Southern 500 will once again begin the playoffs, meaning there's 2 mystery tracks in and out of the playoffs coming into 2025. And based on what people have said, it is somewhat shocking. So, which ones are they? Well, let's confirm at least which ones are not going to be involved in this conversation. Darlington, of course, we just talked about, and Phoenix are not going to be out of the playoffs. Phoenix has been confirmed as the finale, and of course, Darlington has been confirmed as the kickoff. Atlanta, confirmed out, will not be added in. I don't see them making the second date of the year move to the playoffs after having a summer race already. And I think no tracks that are in the 2024 playoffs will be added into. There's going to not be any second dates or double headers in this. Special races like international ones that could be added, as well as Chicago due to a contract with the city, North Wilkesboro, Daytona in the summer, which has been confirmed as a regular season finale. These will not be added as well. What else can we confidently say about the schedule that will or won't happen? Well, I don't see COTA being added in, just because it'd be way too close to the F1 race there, and they're pretty strict when it comes to their regulations. So, no playoffs for Austin. Sonoma has been around or on the current date it is now for pretty much its entire existence, so I don't see that moving either. Charlotte, whether it be the Oval or the Roval, will stay as they need their hometown little stop during the playoffs, and Talladega, I think, has to stay just due to ratings. It's fallen off in recent years when it comes to how many people watch, but when you compare it to the races it's around, it still is a juggernaut. Las Vegas, I think, stays in the playoffs, so don't add that second date just to have it be another regular season race, and weather-wise, it'll fit better in October than August. I don't think anyone wants to go to the desert in the middle of the summer. Also, Richmond, I think, is out. It was the least watched race when it was in the playoffs, and I don't see NASCAR and NBC wanting to repeat that. Martinsville late in the year, I think, will help when it comes to keeping teams at home and having a little bit of that fatigue lessened, and it's also pretty good weather-wise at that time of year, so I think it stays where it's at. And the Brickyard more than likely will be either an NBC or TNT must when it comes to the end of the summer, and it's been in the playoffs before and failed before in that slot. So I don't think that one stays either. Which leaves us with these. We have 8 options that could enter the playoffs or re-enter it, and 4 that can be taken out. The ones that can enter, of course, are Texas, Dover, Gateway, Iowa, New Hampshire, Nashville, Pocono, and Michigan. The ones that could be taken out: Watkins Glen, Bristol's night race, the Kansas race, and Homestead. Let's go to the least to most likely entries that could be added in. I think least likely of these is Iowa. I don't think that even after such a great first weekend, you change this all of a sudden to a playoff race. I think you need to build on this and maybe have that track earn that, or just have the track build up a great date in the summer, which NASCAR excels in. Nashville is one that could move. It's a big market, has solid racing overall. It's a unique, concrete, near mile-and-a-half track, but I also think that it'll probably be in the prime races, seeing how, well, for one, it fits in the summer pretty well as a night race, but also it's right next to an Amazon facility, and I think they could definitely capitalize on that. So I think that one is probably not going to happen either. Michigan's an interesting one. It's improved when it comes to attendance, TV viewership, and the racing itself, and this is a huge race when it comes to the manufacturers. Doesn't matter if it's Toyota, Ford, or Chevy, or any other manufacturer that might jump in the next coming years. Michigan always is a big race for that reason, and I think that, at least unique-wise, it could be something that's worth adding into the playoffs. So I'll put that on the maybe. Gateway, after that, I think is pretty good with attendance and TV numbers. Big racing market as well, as St. Louis fans have shown out in force the last 3 years. But this is another one that I don't think NASCAR really wants to mess with too much. It's starting to really get a footing where it's at, and the track itself, I think, needs major upgrades before it can be even thought of as a playoff race. With those 4 out of the way, let's look at the 4 that I think are the most likely. Starting with New Hampshire. Of course, you have the Northeast market, which will now be represented by the playoffs in this kind of hypothetical move. It'd be good weather that time of year as well, more than likely move back to September where it was before, and it is a unique track, which I think the playoffs definitely need. You have super speedways, mile and a half, short tracks. You might need a flat oval in there as well. So I think that's one that definitely could fit into this. Another that could is Dover. Again, solid attendance, Northeast market, unique track. All of those I think are things that really can help the playoffs, or at least optics-wise help, and maybe even racing-wise help. What I think sets Dover a little bit ahead of New Hampshire is the fact that Dover, since moving to basically the end of April, has been plagued by weather issues. Doesn't matter which series or which weekend, there's always something rain-wise going on. And this was another one that was in September back in the day and didn't seem to have as many of these issues. So NASCAR might be able to knock a few birds out with one stone by moving this one here, so we don't have to worry about that with such a great market and crowd. Second is Texas. I know people are rolling their eyes at this, but Texas has improved in recent years. It's not great by any means, but it's improved. There is a solid market as well, a big market at that they can capitalize on in Texas and maybe fight back a little bit against Formula One's encroaching efforts on their market share. With that as well, you have, again, improved racing and at least action that can be added in no matter what. Say what you want about Texas in the next-gen era, it has been an action racetrack, and this could turn the playoffs upside down, which fits perfectly with what this system and NASCAR's leadership probably would want with it. Storylines. But the biggest one for me, number one, is Pocono. Pocono has had actual rumors about this happening now for well over a year. It was actually rumored to be on this year's schedule, but as is the case, that rumor did not come true. But the rumor hasn't died down, whether it be people in the industry, whether it be people who camp out and locals, they still keep saying it. There is a huge base here. 100,000 people plus show up to this race now, and it has solid TV numbers as well. Actually, before this weekend at Iowa, Pocono was the most watched race on cable for NASCAR in the last year. And it's a very unique and driver-oriented track. You need to be a very skilled driver to get around Pocono, which I think could help legitimize a bit the playoffs, especially after this year, which will have 2 road courses and 2 super speedways to add chaos in. So, of these 8, which are the most likely that they can replace? Which of these 4 tracks? I think fourth and least likely is Kansas. Kansas is the odd one out of all the ones we eliminated. I don't see with their contract them moving it, and this has been a playoff race since the very beginning. One of the very few tracks that's been in every single iteration of the chase and playoffs. I don't see this happening. It's only here simply because we didn't eliminate it by process of elimination already. Watkins Glen, that could be one I think that could. It was just added to the playoffs this year, and putting it back to normal in the 2025 schedule probably would actually help the track overall. Plus, with the Roval there, I think that having 2 road courses is a bit of overkill, especially with how bad the racing has been in recent years. Though the Roval gets taken away, I think this one becomes much more likely to stay in the playoffs for years to come. The Bristol Night Race is one that many people will probably scoff at me saying, but I think it actually makes a lot of sense. This was the lowest watched scheduled race of the last year, 2 years actually, and NASCAR, NBC, all of them alike are going to see that. It's a great race for a diehard fan, but only a diehard fan. I think that moving it back to its summer date, maybe the week before Daytona's cutoff race, could have a ton of drama added into that battle heading into Florida. And with that, you also could probably have improved TV and attendance numbers, which have been, at least attendance-wise, improving the last few years, but I think this would definitely set it back to maybe a pretty good level again. But the number one track that I think almost for sure is getting moved out of the playoffs this coming year is Homestead Miami Speedway. Again, this is another one that diehard fans are going to scoff at me for even mentioning in this conversation, but hear me out. This is a move that I think would be smart. I'm going to get to the smartest part of the move in a moment, but I think, first off, the attendance It's terrible. Unless this track is the finale, and this is from people I know who go to this race, unless this track is the finale, nobody's showing up. We see it every year. It's hard to hide at this point, and it's only going to continue to be this way. It's not a ratings juggernaut either, again, unless it's the finale, so why not move it to somewhere else on the schedule? It's going to provide great racing no matter what, and yeah, it sucks that we're not going to have this race in the playoffs maybe for a year, but it also means you don't have a guaranteed punch ticket for Kyle Larson to make the Final Four every year, which probably will add a bit of intrigue. Also, with this as well, you can go to this race any time of year. Yeah, it might be hotter or humider, but hey, it's still pretty good weather. It's South Florida, for Christ's sake. And the biggest reason why, and the smartest reason why this race should probably be moved, is it gives a lot more time for renovations that Homestead and Miami can make to it to put a better bid in for this to be the finale starting in 2026 again. With that, I want to know what you think. Which tracks do you think are going to get axed from the playoffs? And which ones do you think are going to get added? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're at it, leave a like on this video. Share this video and subscribe to this channel for more great and fun NASCAR content. Thank you so much for all my channel members for continued support, and be sure to watch NWP tonight on Danny B Talks channel. We'll definitely talk about this. So until then, have a good one.